Kate.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm feeling just like really unmotivated and like I'm stuck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you feeling unmotivated about?
Just kind of like everything. Like, I don't want to go to work, don't want to do my homework. Like, I kind of just feel like headiness, like physically. Like, I just want to lay down. And that's all I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you feel tired?
It's not even tiredness. It's just kind of like why do I need to do this stuff, you know? I think it's just kind of at this point in the semester where everything feels like it's an assignment and another task, and am I really learning, or is it just another thing to do, you know? And like with work, I'm like, oh, I know I need to pay my bills, so that's why I go, but I'm not enjoying it. So I feel like it's hard, like at the beginning of the semester, you just feel like I'm so excited to learn everything, and when you're working, it's like, oh, I'm so excited to be doing this, and this is meaningful work. But then you get to a point where it's just like, oh, like it's just another thing. Yeah, so I think right now is where I kind of feel like I'm stuck where I'm at.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but does it feel like the further you get into school, like maybe you're so busy now, or feeling like maybe you're lacking more purpose or meaning in your classes?
It's not that I'm lacking meaning.
Sure.
No, it's just I feel like maybe it's just that, like, I feel like I do the same assignments over and over and over again, maybe. So then I'm just bored of doing them.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, I think at this point, like, I just want to get into my job with my career, like, be a counselor and be doing it all, and not, like, writing another reflection paper and writing another this. I'm like, I just want to get my skills, practice it, and get going. I think that's where I'm at, is I'm just done with it.
Yeah, so it feels very repetitious.
Yes, very repetitive, and, like, it's a cycle I can't break, and I can't just not do my assignments.
Right.
I can't just not go to school, because, like, I know I'm excited to do what I'm going to do, but I'm just, like, in this rut of lack of motivation, so it just makes me want to stay at home. And then I'm not doing my assignments when I should be, so I'm procrastinating on them. It's just, I know I'm just making this self-fulfilling cycle of not doing stuff. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're procrastinating to get your stuff done?
Yes, I do. And normally I'm not a procrastinator. Normally I like to do things like way ahead of schedule and like all that stuff, but because I don't want to do them, I'm like giving myself the least amount of time to do them to make sure I just get it done.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe that's kind of like playing into it, is that like I'm not giving myself enough time to enjoy each assignment. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you feel like it's simply just the repetitive nature of the assignments that's making you feel motivated, or are there any other contributing factors?
I don't know. And it's not even just like one class. It's just like all my classes. You know, that like I just feel like you get to a point that, yeah, I guess you're right. I think it is because I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah. And it's not even like this is my last semester, so I just need to push through. It's like I got a whole nother semester after this of course material. And so I'm like, I just want to be doing it, you know? I just want to be doing therapy and not doing all classes.
Yeah, like you're ready.
I'm ready. Like, do I have all the information yet? No, so that's why I need to keep doing stuff. But like, I feel like with most classes, like you start at the beginning of the semester where you're learning all this amazing and cool stuff, and then by the end of it, you're like, okay, I feel like the learning slowed down. And I get like this is where the application comes in, but like I feel like I'm someone who I applied throughout the whole semester, so I'm like, I don't really need to do this whole application paper. I already know, and I can tell you a whole 10-minute spiel about why this applies. But I'm doing this for every single class. Yeah.
So I'm curious, did you feel like maybe when you started school, was there some sort of like high or like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to learn about this, and now maybe you're at a point where you're not as excited?
Yeah.
Or...
I think maybe what it is instead of my learning, now I'm just doing stuff, you know? Like I'm not really gaining new information at this point. And I really like to get new information. I like to have my mind blown. I like to be, and if I'm not learning things, I like to be actively feeling like I'm doing something with what I know. I feel like through these assignments that I'm doing, I'm not really doing that. I always feel like the assignments are just having me rehash information versus actually like test what I know, if that makes sense.
So I hear you saying that the assignments aren't teaching you anything new.
Yeah.
Do you feel like they're purposeless then? In a sense? Because they're not teaching you anything?
Yeah.
Or is there another word that might better describe that?
I don't want to say they're not purposeless because I do think they have purpose. I feel like we do in our program so many papers.
Yeah.
That I'm like, as soon as I get to my job, I'm not making all these papers. And maybe if there's more video-based things, I would maybe enjoy those more because I'm actually practicing and needing to reflect that way. But like another paper having me rehash something like a theory is not what's gonna really make it stick in my mind. Yeah. So I'm like, awesome, I got this information, and now every class is like, cool, we gave you the information, now just rehash. So then I feel like I'm rehashing, just saying stuff over and over again. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you feel like you are learning like the skills, practical skills you need, like, in your future practice? Or do you feel like, because I noticed that you said like you're doing a lot of papers and reflection stuff and application, but do you feel like you've gotten enough like actual practice and role play and things like that?
So I think in some classes I'm really getting the information I need. And I'm like, okay, cool, I see why this is important. I see why it's important to know it on this level. But then other classes, I'm like how this is, why do I need to know it this way? And like, when will this be used in our practice? It's not like undergraduate when you go and you're taking all these classes knowing you're not going to use them all. Like when you're in a graduate program, I feel like everything I should be learning is something I'm going to actively be using. So I think that's maybe where I'm struggling. It's I guess now that I'm saying this, I realize it's not all my classes. It's maybe like one or two that I'm just feeling like, why do we have to do this other paper? Why do we have to do this other reflection? Like, am I actually learning anything from this? Why is this actually something I'm going to be using? Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So it's just a couple classes.
Just a couple classes, yeah.
Struggling with.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still getting your assignments done on time?
Yes. I'm getting my assignments on time. I'm definitely procrastinating on them, and I'm waiting till closer to the last minute to finish them. But like, I'm still like getting them done, and I'm still getting higher marks on them. So it's not like I'm not turning in quality stuff.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. I feel like I expect when I'm putting all this time into a paper or something, that when I turn it in, it's gonna be like oh, perfect. Like you got this information, and I wrote all this out so that I really understand, so I can use it. And I don't feel like there's that.
Yeah.
And like, not that researching stuff isn't important, because it definitely is. But like, it's not like I'm in my psychopathology course where I'm researching a disorder to really understand that disorder. I'm like researching some things that I'm like why is this an assignment? Like, why is like of writing, maybe instead of writing a paper on this theory, could I not instead just like practice this and do a video of it, or actually show how I'm using it, or like maybe taking this theory and talk about the applications ability and how I would actually use it and be very specific about it.
Right.
Because I feel like otherwise I'm just writing 8 pages of something I'm never going to touch again. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to take your current work and what you're learning into the real world.
Yeah. I want to do stuff that I didn't do in my undergrad. And I feel like a lot of these papers I wrote, I'm like, I did this exact assignment in my undergrad.
Yeah.
So it's not something I'm learning now as a master's level clinician. And I think it kind of takes it, like some of these courses I feel like are psychology stuff versus actual counseling stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that? having classes that aren't necessarily teaching you as many of the practical skills that you want?
Yeah, I guess like it's not that I don't love what I'm gonna do, because I love what I'm gonna do. I love therapy and being a counselor and all that stuff, but it's just hard like doing this and like wanting to continue the schooling part of it, which I know is just like something you have to do. But like I don't want my schooling to feel like something I have to do. I love to learn, and like and I want this information to make sure it's useful. So like I know like one thing we talked about was like we have our whole like techniques and theories class where you like talk about every theory, which is great, right? Like I need to know all these theories. However, these are all the same theories I did learn in my undergraduate, so I'm writing all these papers again that I did. And like in my mind, I'm like, why couldn't we take it where like maybe you decide like your theoretical orientation, because that's something we need to know, right? Like what theoretical orientation, and maybe instead of taking a theories class to get all this little thing, like if you already have taken a theories class, instead you can take a class on a specific theoretical orientation to make sure you're really grounded in that.
Sure.
So like that's something that we don't offer. So like where am I going to get this super grounding theoretical orientation stuff? Or like maybe instead of the whole theories and orienting class, like instead of doing another paper just to summarize a theory, maybe my final paper be a video where I'm actively using and explaining my theoretical orientation and how I can actually use it with my desired population. You know, so it's kind of like how can these classes set me up better to actually do my job versus like just to check a psychology box. Like you understand that, awesome. Can you actually use it? I don't know.
Right.
You know, so I think kind of what stemmed it was like in my ethics class, we talk about like if you don't know your theoretical orientation, like you don't know what's stemming all these things. I'm like, you're right. Like I have done so many papers about just hashing facts about it versus actually talking about how it's usable, and that just makes you really motivated to do more papers about hashing facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're feeling unmotivated because you feel like you're not necessarily learning things that are going to help you individually
Yeah.
in your future career.
Yeah. It's not just about me. Like I just feel like all therapists in this program could really benefit from like having other classes than some of these core ones. And like I know there's probably licensing things, but like
Sure.
yeah, I just really struggle with that. So
you understand that like some of these classes have to be taught, but at the same time you don't feel like you're getting everything you need.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what I'm doing is stuff that I don't feel like I need to do. And so it's a cycle.
Right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
comes full circle into, it's repetitious.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I were in the same position, I would feel the exact same way. You know, if you're doing the same types of assignments and papers over and over again, you know, I think it's totally valid, you know, to
Yeah.
feel unmotivated in that situation.
Yeah.
So, and you're still getting your work done on time.
I am.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that unmotivation then, and kind of push through? You know.
I think what keeps me doing the assignments, because it's not that my motivation is changing. I'm still motivated to do them. It's the fact that I know it's what I have to do to get to where I want to be.
Okay.
Yeah, so even though I might think it's useless or repetitive, I'm like, you know what? I have to do it. I have to check that box. And like, if checking this box is going to get me closer to actually be able to do my work, then I'll do it. So
looking forward to your goal.
yeah,
Essentially is what kind of.
yeah,
Like, okay, this needs to get done.
yes,
You know.
exactly,
Yeah. Even though it may not necessarily feel helpful.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
For sure. Okay. Well, I think that's all the time we're gonna have
Okay,
for today. But
Okay.
I'll see you next time. See you
Okay.
next time.
see you next time.